We're good?
We are good.
Cool. I'm going to start. Welcome to the Open Play. It's a special Christmas edition. Welcome to the Open Play.
This
is Sammy from Australia. And on the line, we have Alberto, currently enjoying a well-deserved break in Italy. We are two mates who met in Melbourne. We love the NBA, and every week we discuss 3
and 1
NBA topic. Well, every week, except this week, we have a Christmas special. Hence the lovely introduction. I hope you enjoyed it.
Man, I loved it. I wasn't expecting that. That was amazing.
So we have a Christmas special edition where we bring you not 1, not 2, not 3. Shout out to Miami LeBron. We're going to bring you 5 hot takes from the 5 Christmas games that we had today.
Man, you're setting the bar way too high. I'm impressed. I'm like, damn, this guy been doing his homework.
That's how we do an introduction. Before we start, I'd like to invite everyone to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes or Spotify. Reviewing the show and subscribing helps us grow. It makes us also feel really good when you leave good reviews. It makes us feel really crap when you leave bad reviews. But obviously, you would never do that. But it's a pleasure to have you on board. No. We would never. It's a pleasure to have you on board, Alberto. I hope you're really enjoying Italy. So of course, it was just Christmas. We're going to do a very small, I guess, take on how your Christmas was. My main question for you is, what did you get to eat? Because you're in Europe, I'm in Australia. We don't have all the good food. What did you eat for Christmas?
Lots of Italian delicacies. And I actually behaved because last year I think I couldn't get up. Like I couldn't get up from my bed. I just napped the whole afternoon. But this year I behaved. And it was amazing, like lots of Italian delicacies. So tortellini, meat, and this special polenta from my hometown. Lots of cakes. We have this Pandoro thing. So, and it was good,
yes.
And then I kept on eating while watching basketball.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. It sounds like that was a pretty good. Was it for lunch or dinner or both?
There's one meal. You wake up and it just goes on until you go to sleep.
All right, so you kind of start around 11:30 a.m. with little entrees, and you end up at 11 p.m.
Exactly.
Awesome. Oh man, and you put on 5 kilos during the day.
That would be an understatement.
That's great, man. Well, look, here in Melbourne, it was really hot, really warm. We had a nice get-together with friends on Christmas Eve and a really nice lunch with a homemade bush, which is kind of like a ice cream dessert with cake in it, chocolate ice cream, with very good friends of ours. So that was really good. And obviously, the Christmas Day games fell on Boxing Day here on the 26th in Australia. So I just spent basically close to 8 hours straight watching basketball. My eyeballs are about to explode, but I have lots of hot takes about today's games.
Nice.
But we're going to start with the first game that you actually watched live. Yeah. Milwaukee facing the Knicks in the Madison Square Garden. Giannis was back to face the crazy dunker Mario Hezonja, which we discussed last time. How was the game? What's your take on the game? And I guess, how was the game? And what's your hot take from the game?
Nice. So let's start with Hezonja played 0 minutes. Very disappointing. The game was a bit, it was a matinee, so noon in New York. A bit boring, to be honest. The game was on the line for the first half, and then Milwaukee just took the lead in the third quarter. Despite missing, I think, around 17 threes in a row. So the Knicks are really bad. But I got a chance to see Antetokounmpo. Vonleh blocked one of Antetokounmpo's shots. That was amazing. But
yes,
Antetokounmpo is a beast. He's a beast. But man, are you ready? Because as much as the standings say that Milwaukee is the second best team in the Eastern Conference, I don't think Milwaukee is a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. And you know what? They would not make it. They would not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, next year, and the year after. And that's when
Oh,
Giannis, yeah, that's when Giannis becomes an unrestricted free agent, and he will leave. He will leave. Also, don't forget that Chris Middleton, he has a player option for next year. They have Tony Snell for 2 more years on 11 million or 12 million. They have George Hill for 2 more years, 18 and 19 million. The Bucks are good, but they're not going to be a contender as much as as much as the Sixers, Boston, and Toronto are going to be. Obviously, we need to see if Kawhi is going to stay in Toronto, but still, Giannis is going to leave Milwaukee in 2 years, 2.5 years, and they're not going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. What do you say?
Wow, that's an interesting hot take from the one game that you watched of Milwaukee. No, I'm kidding. I know you've watched quite a few games. It's damn, it's hard. I would say that I tend to disagree over the next 3 years. I think that they have an excellent coach in Mike Budenholzer. They may have had a poor game shooting 3, but the way they approach the game with Giannis as the freight train, clearing the lane for him to drive and kick in a relentless fashion reminds me a lot of basically, LeBron taking the Cavs to the finals with a bunch of who's who before Kyrie and before Kevin Love, etc. So I think, building around Giannis over the next 3 years, I think, especially if Kawhi leaves, I think they'll have a real shot at making it to the finals.
What finals? Eastern Conference or the finals?
Eastern Conference Finals. Eastern Conference Finals, yes. The actual finals, I think that will depend. But, man, I mean, come on. Like, especially, I think they do have a shot this year, like if they hit their shots outside, and they have pretty good three-point shooters. Middleton was pretty bad today. I think he shot 2 of 12, like 16%. He will never shot that badly. Well, hopefully, especially for my fantasy team. But he doesn't shoot that badly, that poorly. And Brogdon has been pretty good. I believe in the standings that we have in the East at the moment, and I do believe that Milwaukee has a real chance of going quite deep in the playoffs. Yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm surprised. I'm surprised by your hot take. No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be a hot take.
Yeah, but and we'll get to Boston later because I have a massive hot take. It's like we are in Melbourne in January, 45 degrees for that Celtics hot take. But you know what? We'll see. I don't think that Giannis is great, but Milwaukee has a lot to do, and no one wants to go to Milwaukee, dude. LeBron said it a couple of days ago. Getting free agents to Cleveland was tough. Imagine getting free agents to Milwaukee. I mean, it's Wisconsin. Who wants to live in Wisconsin, dude?
Greg Monroe signed with Milwaukee. Back in the days when
where is he right now? Remind me, please. He's in Toronto.
But let's remember that when he signed, he was one of the he was a hot free agent on the market, and he decided to go with Milwaukee and leave some money on the side, because he believed in Giannis at the time. That was a few years ago, but still. So I know Greg Monroe is not the same player that he was, but he's been quite good, and I think if you have a chance to play with arguably one of the future best players in the games, and if Giannis gives any indication that, well, certainly at the moment he's not interested in leaving Milwaukee, or it doesn't seem to be. So I think it can attract free agents. It won't attract like the A-list. You won't attract a guy like Kevin Durant, who in any case would want to be his own man or like be the main guy in the team. But you may get a nice 3-point shooter, like I don't know, a guy of the caliber of Redick, of JJ Redick around Giannis. I think one of the challenges that they're going to have is with Middleton being a free agent at the end of the season and a few other players, Bledsoe as well, is they're going to be capped out if they sign all these guys. So they're not going to have much room for,
Middleton maybe he is, but Bledsoe is not. So anyway, man.
Yeah, interesting. So no hot takes on Kevin Knox being the future of the Knicks, and looking forward to seeing him pairing up with Porzingis and the Knicks getting back to the playoffs next year.
Why do you want to make me cry on Boxing Day, knowing that you made me trade for Porzingis in the fantasy basketball? I think Kevin Knox is good. I think he's been the first Knick to score 15 or more points in 8 straight games since Pat Ewing. And yeah, he's good, man. He's good, but New York. That's it. What do you want me to say about New York?
Well, I think opposite to Milwaukee, they actually they are a big market and they can still attract
a big space,
big like players,
big salary space for next year. But man, I don't even want to talk about New York, please. It's Boxing Day.
Well, they might be very relevant next year, so let's see. Okay, game 2 of the Christmas games was OKC facing the Houston Rockets in Houston, in lovely Texas. I think we had a Harden special. What did you think of this game? Can you give us a brief summary, and what's your hot take on the game?
Man, really good game, where James Harden confirmed he's a great player. What a player he is, seriously. Kind of somehow underestimated by some. And that might be a hot take, but it's not, because James Harden is seriously one of the best players I've seen in the last 10 years. Not that my opinion counts that much, but still. But you know what? They actually got the lead thanks to 2-3 points by Austin Rivers. So it was actually quite interesting to see. And Houston is going up. They're in the 7th seed right now, but man, Houston is going to. I was talking to my friend yesterday while watching the game. Houston is Chris Paul, $40 million for like 4 more years, if I'm not mistaken. So 3.5 more years, and they only have James Harden. Capella is good, but Capella he's not a franchise player. I mean, I was listening. I can't remember who the commentator was, but they said, "Oh, Houston is playing exactly like last year. The only thing is that they're missing shots." So they're coming back. I have a feeling that, but that's not my hot take. I have a feeling that Houston might do really well in the playoffs. I don't know how. Probably because I watched Houston winning the title in '95 from the 6th seed. But man, OKC is going to win the Western Conference, and I mean, go to the NBA Finals. Now win the regular season. They're going to win the Western Conference playoffs.
Damn, that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Wow. And even though they lost the game today,
and they lost against the Wolves 2 days ago.
Yes, so they're on a two-game losing streak.
Yeah, they didn't start the season well, but Paul George is becoming like a beast. So second hot take. I initially told you, Paul George is going to finish top 3 in the MVP run. I think he's going to finish top 2, and he has a big chance to win the MVP this year. He's a beast. Wow. Russell Westbrook, again, underestimated by many as well. I think there's a lot of hate around those 3 players from OKC, Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. There's a lot of hate. But Russell Westbrook is playing the right game. He's understood that Paul George is the kind of player he wants to, he just wants to say, "Hey, Paul, hey PG, just get the ball and take me where I want to go. So it's not just Russell Westbrook against the world. He trusts PG, he trusts Steven Adams. And I'm going to say that, I said the Thunder are going to the NBA Finals for two reasons. First of all, and I said that before I watched the Warriors, okay? Before I watched the Warriors.
Yeah.
So first of all, the Western Conference is a mess. And there's going to be one team standing last, and that's going to be Oklahoma, because they have, like, overall, from a holistic point of view, they are in the best scenario. Secondly, they're good. They're good. They have two really good players like Westbrook and Paul George. They have been in those situations. They are going to be in Oklahoma for a while, so there's no Kevin Durant crap or mess. Where is he going next year? Does he really care about the Warriors winning this year? What about Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and all of the other teams? Seriously, I don't give much. I don't think the Nuggets are getting there, and if they get there, they're not gonna win the West. The Lakers, we'll see. The other teams, maybe the Rockets. I don't know why I have this feeling, but those are my two hot takes for this game. I really enjoyed this game. Not the best game of Christmas.
I would say it's interesting that you say that. So you're saying that you think that the everything happening outside of the Warriors games, so like the contract, the free agency, the chit chat, the talks, etc., is going to impact the Warriors so much that they won't get back to the finals. And basically there's a space to take, and you're saying that the second best team in the West to take it would be OKC.
That's correct.
My, question back to you is, are you not worried about OKC's lack of external shooting, outside shooting? They're not making their 3-pointers. Obviously it was everywhere on the highlights, but Abrines missed a clutch 3 on a Westbrook drive and kick against Minnesota, which would have, I think, won the game for them or tied the game at least.
Yeah.
And he missed it, which was quite critical. And to me, it was kind of a symptom or an example of the fact that, again, I think OKC is going to run into, well, they don't have 3-point shooters. They don't have a guy like Redick who can consistently knock down shots outside of the paint. They have 2 creators, 2.5 with Schroeder, with Westbrook and Paul George. But you can't just have Paul George sitting in a corner waiting for the ball to be kicked by Westbrook. Otherwise, you're going back to the Westbrook game. So as much as I want to believe in you, because I'm supporting OKC and I want them to do well, and I love Westbrook, it's really hard for me to believe that this is what's going to happen.
Well, you were asking for hot takes, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's really hard. They're forecasting 37 degrees tomorrow in Melbourne. I think that's where it comes from, obviously. Look, I'd love for it to happen. I'm just not sure if OKC is right there.
In my point of view, so first of all the mess around the Warriors, it happened last year as well. It happened last year as well a little bit. The Warriors are just too good to be true. But this year, I don't know. There's something about Klay Thompson that's not clicking. Draymond is not playing well. KD. Who knows? Who knows, man? Like, I'm just saying, you were asking for a bold prediction, and that's my bold prediction. If I wanted to go for a bigger one, I would have said Houston is going to the finals. But you know what? I really like Jeremy Grant. Ferguson is recovering after a very rough start. Diallo, I really enjoy it. Andrew Robertson might be coming back. If you want one hot take for the West, Oklahoma's going to win it. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship.
Yeah. I'd love for them to sign. I think I'd be much more confident if they were able to sign, to trade for a good 3-point shooter, like a guy like Redick. I'm not saying Redick because I know he's tied with Philly and all that.
But he's one of the best GMs. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah. So I hear your point. I would say that would be my prediction for next year. I think OKC has a real chance at the shot next year, if we assume that the Warriors are getting, broken down and they won't be the Warriors anymore. That'd be my hot take. All right, well, that's exciting. That's will certainly get us going. Let's get to the main event. I think we both agree that Boston facing Philadelphia was the best game of the day. We have both watched it. It was early enough for me to get up and watch it. So really amazing game. I think some of my key, I guess, summaries of the game was, and I'll let you go about it, but both teams played like it was a playoff game, and that's what we love. That's what we want, even during the NBA season. That was a really good indication of what we might get in the playoffs, not necessarily around the results, but around the intensity and the matchups and how they, I guess, match up with each other. Which takes me to the second key point of the game that I wanted to bring up, which is, well, you know how Joel Embiid says that he owns Andre Drummond real estate, that he's basically in his head and that he owns him. Well, I think that, and that's not my hot take, but Al Horford owns Joel Embiid real estate as well. The only thing is that he's not bragging about it. But watching this game, watching possession after possession, and I know Embiid had a great game, 34 points, 16 rebounds, I think, if I remember well, or 13, quite a few rebounds. He actually did not fare well when he was matched up one-on-one against Al Horford. And I think Horford can take him on defense. And it doesn't show up on the box score, but everything that he does to stop Embiid from being Embiid against Boston, which is certainly going to be a problem if they face up in the playoffs. The third, I guess, key takeaway from the game to me was Boston still struggles to close games. They start really well, but they haven't found a way to close game as a team, and they're relying on heroics like Kyrie Irving. They will need to have other players stepping up. They will need the Jason Tatum from last year. They'll need the Jaylen Brown from last year, and they need the Gordon Hayward from 50 years ago to come back to life. So these were some of my takeaways. Before I get into my hot take from the game, I want to hear yours, unless you have anything that you want to add on the summary of the game.
Man, I want this to be a playoff series. The atmosphere, the intensity of the game, the matchups, Boston against Philly, the rivalry, the two coaches. We need this. We need 7 games of this. Are you kidding?
That's true. Are
you kidding? Like, seriously, I don't, the history behind the two franchises. Yes, Toronto. Yes, Indiana. Yes, Milwaukee. But Boston and Philly? Are you kidding? They're going to kill each other. Kyrie is amazing. The 2 threes in a row, it reminded me of Carmelo Anthony against the Bulls. If you remember, like, what's that, 7 or 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What I think about the game is I was looking at Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was defending Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
Jimmy Butler is fucking good.
Yes.
He's changed the Sixers, and man, it's going to be a bloodbath in the Eastern Conference as well. I really enjoyed the game. It was Christmas. You gotta be happy on Christmas Day, but I'm actually very, very sad. And that's my hot take. Watching Gordon Hayward. I know it's only 2 or 3 months after he actually got back to professional basketball.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll never get back to what he was before. Maximum he's going to get is 25 minutes per game. And my hot take is the first chance Danny Ainge has to trade him, he's gonna do it. Gordon Hayward, I'm sorry to see him playing like he's got no confidence, and you can rebuild confidence, but he's definitely weaker. Like, he's not as strong as he used to be. He's got no confidence whatsoever. It's going to be tough. It's going to be even a tougher choice for Brad Stevens because he was coaching him in high school. It's going to be a tough choice, a tough move for Stevens to just bench him. And
yeah, absolutely, and it's been already a tough move to bench him. Now he starts the games on the bench, so he's not in the starting lineup anymore.
Yeah, sorry. Let me rephrase it quick.
Yeah.
More than benching him, it's going to be tough for him in the playoffs to reduce his minutes to 20, because that's what Boston can afford to have Hayward on the court for right now.
Yeah, it was interesting because he was still on the court for the during the overtime.
Yeah,
and I mean, he didn't do anything. I think he may have missed 1 or 2 shots. It is sad. I think I've read a lot of things about him saying, well, it's going to take basically the full season for him to get back to where he was. I don't think it's physical, but I think also mentally. The problem is, if it takes him the whole season, how is he going to build enough confidence to go into the playoffs and say, well, let's me just forget about the 82 games that we just played and, like, you know, resemble the player that I was before and be this great man. I don't see it happening, unfortunately, either. And I'm not sure Danny Ainge is going to trade him this year, but he might do next year.
Oh, not this year, sorry.
No, yeah, I think over the summer, if it gets them, you know, a guy like Anthony Davis, for instance. Obviously, there's been a lot of talks about Davis to Boston. If this happens, then yeah, he pulls the trigger. I think he pulls the trigger with any players. To be honest, to get Davis. Yeah, interesting. Well, my hot take is a little bit of a different one, and on this game, we're getting 2 hot takes because we both watched the game, as I said. Mine is that the Philadelphia 76ers basically will not do anything meaningful this year, and the team will be completely dismantled during the off-season.
Whoa.
Boom. It's the end of the process. Say bye-bye to whatever you think Philadelphia was doing. They're not going to do anything. I was not impressed by their games, even though, yes, I know they went to overtime and they had a chance to win, etc. But to me, they have no depth. They outside of the heroics of Embiid and Butler, they don't really have anyone, and that includes Ben Simmons, who can win them a game. And you basically need Embiid and Butler to be at their prime and at their top during the whole game and during a whole series for them to have a shot. I think they actually would lose against Milwaukee. I'm pretty sure they would lose against Toronto. I think they would lose against Boston. So they might get out of the first round, but I think they're not going any further.
Wow. I was actually impressed with them yesterday. Actually, let me rephrase it. I was impressed with Jimmy Butler because now I understand why you trade for a player like Jimmy Butler, because a player like him, it changes the whole thing. So I'm actually disagreeing with you because the Sixers are definitely beating Milwaukee, in my point of view. The Sixers are going to take Boston to the 7th game. And regarding the depth of their squad, I like Shamet. Muscala played an awful game yesterday, but he's not bad. And Wilson Chandler hit a very nice 3-point. It's just Ben Simmons, man. But at the same time, everyone's complaining about Ben Simmons not shooting threes. And I'm like, if you know what your weakness is, and as long as you work on it, because he's going to work on it, but you don't get into that weakness as often as the others want you to, it's fine. Why should Ben Simmons hit threes if he's not gonna hit them?
I'm not asking him to hit threes. That's fine, but he's. I don't think he doesn't have the skill sets of Giannis, for instance, or when you look at even LeBron added a 3-point game to his game, and like he's the prime example of a guy who didn't necessarily need that to win games, and he's added that to his arsenal. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that he's not going to add it later. I'm saying that this year, Philadelphia 76ers won't be relevant. I forgot the Pacers. I think the Pacers also beat them during the playoffs.
Yeah.
I
think Embiid is way too dominant.
I agree with you with Butler, how he can change the dynamic of the team, but unfortunately, that's not enough for the Sixers to be relevant. And to me, by the end of the season, I think they have Chandler, Redick, Muscala, Furkan Korkmaz. They're all free agents. Butler has a player option. Fultz has one more season, but he's not relevant anyway. Ben Simmons has one more season after that, so which means they're going to go into, do we re-sign him or do we get into trade talks, etc. I think Philly had this, basically. I think this year was their window to make a statement in the East, and I haven't seen that in that game. I'm sorry for all the Sixers fan. I'm sorry for my friend Tony, who's a big Sixer fan, but I just don't see that happening this year.
All right, we'll see, because if Joel needs to step up, if he does it, he is unstoppable.
He can be unstoppable, except if he faces a guy like Al Horford.
all right, man. All right. We'll see.
The next game was the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers pretty easily beat the Warriors, even though they lost LeBron for most of the second half. They actually had a scary moment. They were up by 14 or 16 points when LeBron went out through the third quarter. The Warriors went into their third quarter special and came back within 3 points, I think. But a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter, we had playoff Rondo showed up, and the future All-Star game, All-Star Ivica Zubac had a fantastic game as well. And they went back into leading by quite comfortably, and the Lakers routed the Warriors. It was pretty, I guess, sad to watch if you're a Warriors fan, and obviously they were playing at home. The commentators were saying that every loss that the Warriors have had at home had been blown out, like 20 points or so every time. You wonder how they approached this game and why this happened. To me, it doesn't necessarily change the landscape of the Western Conference and what's going to happen. I still think that the Warriors are the team to beat. It's hard for a defending champ to bring it out every single night, because every other team wants to beat you and kind of like has a big cross in their calendar to say, we're facing the champ, we better show up tonight. So I know how they approach it, but my hot take of the game that I have watched, and it's going to go to talk about one player from the Los Angeles Lakers who had a pretty good game. His name is Ivica Zubac. I think he's in his third season, I want to say. My hot take is that he is going to be in the starting lineup come playoff time within the Los Angeles Lakers. I think he's going to take Tyson and Javal out of the starting lineup. He's been a real offensive weapon for 3 games in a row now. He's still young and growing, and he fits perfectly the dynamic of this team, which is having a senior guy, veteran guy like LeBron, leading a team of young, crazy gunners in Ball, Ingram, Kuzma, and Zubac to the playoffs and wherever they can go to the playoffs. What do you think about Zubac in the starting lineup?
I was just listening to you, and you said, "Oh wow, Zubac played really well for the third straight game." I'm like, "Damn, wow, man, MVP." Man, I disagree with you. Because Jabali is, again, I'm gonna say this word for the third time today, underestimated. He's got plenty of experience. He's an experienced guy. He is playing really well. And by the way, all the three centers in the Lakers are playing well, and that's, just let's give some credit to Luke Walton. Javali plays well. Tyson Chandler plays well. Zubac played well. He didn't play for I don't know how many games, 10 games, and then boom. I disagree with you because not because of a stats reason, not because of he might be playing better than Javali, but when it comes down to the playoffs, and the Lakers are going to have a tough matchup no matter what in the first round. You already have Lonzo Ball with no experience, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Kuzma. He might force Luke Walton to reduce the minutes that Javali and Tyson have on the court, but no way. Javali is going to start. Maybe next year he's got the chance of leading the Lakers as a center, but not this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think the argument that you were saying was basically you need playoff experience to close the games, etc. I didn't say Zubac was going to close the game. I said that he was going to start, and I think that he brings important. He brings offensive power that, and he's a little bit more mobile than a guy like McGee, who's really good. And I agree with you. I think he's underestimated, and he's playing quite well. But he also regularly needs to have his minutes limited. Tyson Chandler is a lot older. So to me, it just makes sense. You want the best chance for the Lakers to win and move forward is LeBron plus 4 runners, 4 guys who are full of energy, who are going to play 150% the whole game, at least to start with, because that's when they put pressure, that's when they play well. That's how they started against the Warriors, and that's where they won the game. Basically, they were by 15 at halftime or so because they played that way, and that's why I think, to me, it makes sense to insert Zubac into your starting lineup come playoff time, or by then he will be in the starting lineup.
There's no way.
But we'll see.
If that happens, I'm gonna buy you a Zubac T-shirt, not a jersey, because I don't have the cash.
Damn.
Not a cash. Yeah, Zubac T-shirt.
All right, I'll take the T-shirt. No problem. Cool. Well,
I'm glad we're not talking about the Warriors, because not even Steve Kerr can understand what's happening with the Warriors. So let's get straight into the 5th game.
That's fine. Everybody talks about the Warriors anyway, so who cares? Portland Trailblazers were facing the Utah Jazz for the second time in basically 5 or 6 days. The game was a little bit boring. The game was quite boring, actually. That's why they, I think, scheduled it to be the last game of the day, so that if people don't want to watch, they could just tune out. Welcome to the entertainment world. We still had a great game by the French rejection. Rudy Gobert had 7 blocks. He had one of the highlights of the evening with a massive block, 2 hands on Damian Lillard drive to the basket. That was nice to see. He's certainly sparked the conversation about defensive player of the year, etc. It was interesting to see him play. We had an okay game by Donovan Mitchell, but I don't know, none of the teams really showed up. Portland was, it had been a while that they had. I think Damian Lillard had never played on Christmas Day, and he didn't really do anything crazy, so it was a little bit disappointing. Utah won. But my hot take for the game is, and is that unfortunately Portland and Utah, both of these teams, you basically don't matter you won't matter for the foreseeable future. So you won't matter this year, you won't matter next year, you won't matter in 2 years. You have no relevant draft picks within the next few years. You're capped out for the next few years. You have no real chance to attract any major free agents. You haven't proven anything so far, apart from sometimes winning a first round of the playoffs. What are you doing? Nothing. You're just irrelevant. Please, move to Seattle so that at least we have something that we can talk about. But unfortunately, for both Portland and Utah, you won't matter this year, and you won't matter for the next few years. Yeah, that's my hot take. Yes,
don't matter.
They don't matter. Who cares about them? Basically, sorry Utah fans and sorry Portland fans, but
they will never,
I don't see them being playoff relevant or
the franchise will never be relocated because of their crowds. So there's nothing to do in Portland aside from smoking some good weed, and there's nothing to do in Utah. But
full stop.
Full stop. And they have 20,000 people going to the arena every night because there's nothing else to do. You're right, my man. There's no black and white. We were talking about Orlando. Orlando is in that kind of situation. But you know what? As long as you play for the playoffs, as long as you every now and then win a couple of playoff series, you're fine. So it could be much worse than what it is.
Yeah, but I don't know. If you're a player, you're frustrated if you don't, if you believe that you have a shot at the title, or at least to make something relevant, so at least Eastern or Western Conference Finals, which I believe both Portland and Utah believe they have, then it's really disappointing when you're not making it to the finals, to the conference finals.
And when they both have a... So first of all, let's start from the premise: the Western Conference is going to change next year. It can be the Warriors dismantling. It can be the Lakers getting a big free agent.
Yeah.
All right. So next year, as I said earlier, in my point of view, it's going to be a bit of a whoever stands last. Who knows? Maybe Utah goes on a crazy streak like last year. Maybe Lillard comes with a 40 points per game during the playoffs. I agree with you. In the long term, it's you're in the middle. You're right. Not in the middle. In the middle of the playoff team. Not in the middle of the NBA. But
they have plateaued. It's like the Clippers 2 years ago. They have plateaued. They can't get over the hump.
Yeah, but if Portland didn't rebuild last year, when they got swept by the Pelicans, when are they gonna trade? I thought they were gonna trade McCollum. I think they're making the mistake Toronto did for a while, but this year they're going to trade McCollum, not Lillard. And Utah, we'll see, dude. We'll see, because Utah is that kind of playoff team. It's not kind of a regular season, but in a playoff series with the staffing coach that they have, they can be concerning for every single team aside from Oklahoma City. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think, yes, it's a playoff team. It's basically your sparring partner. So it's the team you train against before you go for the real matchup. It's the team you're going to face, which doesn't really matter because we know they're not going to win anyway. So
okay, so Utah
you play against them to warm up, and then you play another team. Say again?
In the future, Utah or Denver?
Or Denver?
Who
Denver.
Do you think Denver.
The Nuggets. Yeah, absolutely. They have in Jokic. Jokic is a player who, to me, can take the franchise to another level, and they have a really good young core. Unfortunately, I don't see, so far this season, we haven't seen Mitchell, become the player that he was, that we anticipated him to be based on last year's plays. I'm not saying he's not going to get better. He might, but yeah. Sorry, Utah Jazz, you don't matter to me.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah. So that's my hot take on the game. Good. We've wrapped up the 5 Christmas games. Obviously, this was a little bit longer than expected. I am just realizing that I do not have any particular question for the bet that I had planned. So I'm trying to think about it on the fly.
Can I steal one?
Say again?
Can I steal one?
Okay, well, you take this one and I'll get the next one then.
All right. What two teams are going to play on Christmas Day next year that haven't played this year? You know, I'm always trying to find a way to say that beautiful name, starting with Luka and finishing with Doncic. So who's gonna face the Mavs next year?
Oh, so you're definitely thinking that the Mavs are going to be on Christmas Day next year?
Yeah, you have to.
I think they are if they make the playoffs this year. If they don't, I don't think they will be featured.
All right. So what are your two teams that didn't play last night but are going to play next year, or the
whoever,
you know?
Yeah, whoever gets Anthony Davis.
So you're 100% sure that Anthony Davis is going, and Kevin Durant.
And whoever gets Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but you need to say there's two teams. Seriously.
Well, come on. In this case, I think Davis is staying in the Pelicans, so I think they're going to be featured next year. And the Knicks, where Kevin Durant might be.
You know that the Knicks have played, I think, 33 Christmas games in a row.
Yeah, but they're a big market. I don't think that the Knicks are getting away from Christmas. And Porzingis will be back next year, so that give them a justification to play them again.
Cool, man. Cool.
Great. Well, that was excellent. As I said, a little bit longer than the usual, but we'll resume to the normal 30-minute 4-point play podcast next week that I'm looking forward to. Thank you very much for your time, Albe. It was great again.
Last podcast of the year, man.
Last podcast of the year. Go and exercise a bit to lose some weight that you gained during Christmas.
Yeah. I'm playing football today.
Ooh, like the real football, so soccer.
Futsal. So as I'm back in my small town, and I just asked a friend, hey, what should we do on Boxing Day? And I just suggested, hey, why don't we play like 5-on-5? And we were actually able to get 25 people. So today there's going to be a big tournament going around, and
nice,
and lots of food as well.
Great. Well, I'm taking the holiday time to redo my garden. So I'm basically digging earth and installing grass and lawn in my backyard, so that next year I can watch the games from my backyard on the laptop or on the iPad. That's the idea, man. And chill out in the backyard.
Cool.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thanks everyone for listening to the 4-point play. You can just a reminder that you can find us on iTunes and Spotify, and please subscribe, rate, and review us. And you can also find us on Twitter at _4-point play, where we always have some random hot takes based on the games we watched that day. So please follow us, and see you all next week.
And bye. Happy New Year to everyone.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Bye-bye. See ya, mate.
Cheers.